Hello. I don't think you probably want to watch me paint the whole time, but I've only got one camera even as we speak, and I am doing this section right in here, so you should be able to see some painting happening. I'll go back to that in a second. I'll show you my palette here. Hopefully you can see it. The greens, it's a little muted because the light is, but basically it's a bluish green, cool palette. My three colors down there fit the halo blue, ultramarine. The red is a red crimson with a orange or red highlight, and of course there's all my mixtures. That's a Naples yellow, which will will warm it, and a titanium white, which cools. And then my gel off to the side helps it dry quicker, since I use titanium white. So that's me. Just got the palette set up. There'll be me doing some painting. So I messed a line up here. I took my little tool out. You see it's got this little scraper at the end. What I can do is I can just come take that paint off. Now it's not going to get all of what I want off, but it will get me up there where I can refix outlines and have some little bit of blending here, because you'll see the blue is not completely gone, but it's so little. It's micro pigments, very, very small. Anyhow, and I'll rub away a little bit. And I'll give a little bit more edge there. So we have the top. This is something I'll do is I will take and use almost black, because I want this right here is the area inside the rose, and this is what I would be showing your mom. And as you can see, we've got even some variation in color. I may want to go a little bit darker, go all the way to the top of the scale, because I really want there to be the inside there. So I'm taking this black, I'm going to run it along the edge there. But because I know this black tends towards blue, and that's kind of where we're at, I'm going to make the sharp edge there, and then I make a nice blue color on up there. A bluish purple. So you can see why sometimes it takes me forever. It's a little bit darker, but it looks a lot like the background, which is kind of scary. Not what I wanted at all, but I'm going to repaint the background on this. I'm going to do some blending here and some softening as it comes up here. What I'm doing is basically coming from the dark crevice of where the rose is, and there's another kind of odd leaf petal right here too that's kind of curved back a bit. So we'll see another sharp line there as we look back up there. Maybe we'll do it this way, since I'm really not sure what this one's supposed to look like. Okay, oh, we've got another, I see what's going on, so that's fine. We can blend this line out. If you're as confused as I think you are, again, I'm going to be changing this background probably to maybe a brown or some other color. As I get up here at the top of the scale, it's basically the top of the leaf. We'll put some other colors and blend it downward here. And we're basically just creating that petals highlights. We'll continue down the scale into where the petal cools off down there even more. Okay. So you got the petal. We want it to look like it's curving down like this. I'll show you what that looks like when I step back. I'll take you with me. But we're just painting away, and this is why it takes me, if you're wondering why it takes me hours to paint. Now I'm going towards more of a, I have a cool, really cool side. The whole palette's cool, but This, I think, against the background when we get there, will end up being a little warmer, a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of see the red in this. I kind of like that going up to the tip where I'll just really cool it off and make it almost icy, this rose. So this thing kind of goes down here from here. This is on the back side of another petal right there. So that'll be mostly in shadow. It's this petal, but it's the other side of it. So we kind of lost it there a little bit. Lost it there a little bit. I didn't want to get that back under there nice and cool, but didn't want it as red. I didn't want it as blue and warm. I want it cold, cold, cold. So let's get rid of that warm stuff there. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah, nice and dark. Maybe just a touch of warmth, but like icy veins. Anyways, or whatever, you know. So it's kind of works its way up here to the edges. We're just playing here because it doesn't really matter. We're just gonna take them and make them soft edges all the way. You want your shadows to come up and blend and become lighter as they come closer to lit areas. Obviously, you know all this, but just in my mind, I say it out loud so I can think about where I'm putting the highlights and the reflections. You know, maybe some of the backlight. I'll turn this actually a little bit so you can see better. This thing weighs about 900 pounds because it's all steel. But the lighting really doesn't help all that much. But you can see it a little bit better. So the palette, I'm going to go some almost white for the tip. I want to get this tiny bit of pigment in it because I want to kind of pop that. So if the background ends up being, again, warmer too, you know, look at that, just kind of grabs a hold of those colors and brings them out when you've got a little bit of warmth playing off the end. So, yeah. So this leaf is not, this leaf is in the light quite a bit. It's not showing because the value I thought was much lower ends up being a lot higher because I pushed these values and these a little bit darker. So I'm going to have to lighten this a bit, which it's always harder to lighten. It is darker with oils, but we'll give it a shot. I'm back in the reddish, purpley, really white section. I didn't blend it on my brush enough, but I think with the, yeah, let's see, we can, I'm just going to have to, you know, use a couple of, yeah, look at that, isn't that better? As we add some of those colors in. See, I can teach anybody this. Takes a little bit of practice, a lot of study. Now you can see and get some kind of form out of this. But as I dip down in here on these, as it comes around, it kind of gets this form of roundness, right? That's what we're trying to go for. And I'll bring it again in closer. But then as we get closer down here, and we're pushed it down a little bit there, we got a leaf kind of bent over there. It's going to show a lot of light here, okay? This could be super dark in here, maybe almost black, but at least darker, as dark or darker than that. And that's because you've got that big leaf kind of pushed outward. I might even just kind of give it a little bit of an inward, give it a little brightness on the end there, just so that it, you know, kind of peeking over. You don't really know where it's coming from. We'll start with a pretty dark color, darkish purpley color. And we're going to just kind of push it up underneath here, kind of give that edge a hard edge, because we want hard edges come to a stop, right? So we're going to give that a hard edge, all right? really make that leaf kind of pop off there. And while we put a little, well, probably the darkest cool blue right here. And that will give that, hey, you're looking at down here. Now we'll stay pretty close to that all the way through. Under there, because it's kind of tucked back in there. And as we come down here towards the rip in the time space continuum, whatever we're going to call it, we're going to get that pretty sharp. So we get that rip in here, and that rip is bright, right? So these darker colors and cooler colors, if I've planned it right, are really going to pop between the two, and it should become the focal point, right? You move from here through here. So, and again, you can't see, but the yellow rose, the red, ooh, that's pretty. I want to see more of that. Oh, okay, we got just a menagerie. Look at that. And then just see the rip opening as it rips through, basically a third of the painting. So, anyways, sorry, being a little passionate about it. Could talk about art for hours. I'm not a person named Art, obviously, but playing a little lighter than I wanted, so my value's off a bit. So let's kind of start blending. See if we can't just bring that back and bring it down. Guess not. We'll just go back in with that same color. It's not going to be a perfect match, but it'll be close enough. And we're just going to paint that out right on down into Oblivion. So we got this whole rose. It's just this beautiful purplish blue color, most of it is just kind of hiding back behind there. I want to give this a nice hard edge. But not up here as I'm blending through. Just a bit of light coming in there. So, yeah, looking pretty good. Once it's getting there, I think I'll probably just take this leaf, or this petal, not leaf, petal, like it's kind of ginormous petal, kind of just switch it up and darken it up through here. I think I picked up the wrong paint, but you know what? Who cares? I'm not going for realism with here. Maybe that alien force, just warped this rose so much. So why not stick with it? Make it a little warmer around the rip. How about that? In fact, it's probably going to even lighten up a little, right? Because there's some radiation coming out there. Ooh, spooky. So got a little bit of light area. And see this? Not even the kind of the color I really wanted to go for, but I think by dropping some different colored blues in here, it might give me a little bit more of a feeling of less purpley. Yeah, I'll get that blue in there. And I know those are very similar, but this is about maybe a half or less of a shade lighter, and that might not seem like a lot, but when this all comes together, that will seem kind of normal. But we got to put in here and here and here for all that to work. So this purple rose, kind of a fat little boy. It's going to take it down here because I love it when I make a mistake and it turns into something pretty cool. like my life. So, painting away the rose. So, I always look at roses like layers, almost like women, because there's all this layers you've got to get to. Guys were like, I don't know, what is it? Like an almond, you know, crack open one, you found everything you got right there. So simple, so simple. But us women, they're roses. They're beautiful. Doesn't matter what color they are. None of that matters. Because it just happens to be the truth. Only problem is sometimes you get to a layer and it's a little dark. You know what I'm saying? Been there, I've been there. Professor Eric has been there a lot. His life. Ooh, see, got a little bit of kind of change right there. I'm not going to make it a rip, but more like an opening. So might not be a lot of texture to it. I don't want to get into then having to wrinkle the roses and repaint and blah, blah, blah. It would just be a brutal amount of work to not have people even notice it. That's the one thing about painting, is this thing is probably going to take me hopefully another 40, 50, 60 hours, depending. Really depending on a lot of things, but most of it has to do with me getting my lazy ass up during after I get home. So, because what I normally do is I pop open the games on the tablet, and then I start chilling, then I partake in a few other things. They're all legal. Whoa, better tighten that up. They're all legal, but you don't always make great decisions, right, kids? I'm gonna talk a little bit like Matthew McConaughey. You kids don't do drugs unless you call me first. So, oh, look at it's gonna have that little light spot right on that as it bleeds up and over. Because no rose, like no woman, is like. Yep, I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. Pretty darn good here. Pretty darn good. Okay, got a little glow. Okay, I'm gonna take a look at it. Therefore, I'm going to have you look at it with me. Let's step back over here. You can kind of see it, is how it kind of blends right now into the background. You got to understand, I'm going to repaint this background. Probably more of a dark color, because I really want this to pop. So maybe gray and black. But I'll go with a bluish black, because I think that's the theme overall. Maybe Payne's gray or something like that. So anyways, I'll get up closer for those who want to see the whip. Yep, you see it? I didn't pay for the super expensive camera, I don't think, at least not a forward camera. So, there we go. 18 minutes, Jesus. Seems like I've been doing this for a while. Okay. Here's the question. There it is. Well, see, this is a Princeton filbert. I love the filbert. A lot of people don't. I do. You know why I love the filbert? First of all, I was taught to use the filbert. I don't know if you can see it. Put them on your beard. It disappears. There we go. Caught some shadow. So the filbert is a fun shape. It's like a flat, it's like a curved square. Okay, it's a filbert. Just look it up if you really care. But anyways, I do a filbert. Doesn't matter the brand, doesn't matter the cost. Usually a 4, 6, or 8. This happens to be a 4, which is a pretty small brush for the amount of painting I'm doing. And these I end up with, I usually buy paper towels by the hundreds, and I use paper towel. I literally use linseed oil. I do not use anything toxic because I live in Phoenix, and if I use toxic stuff, I would go the route of poor Mr. Bob Ross and basically, hell breaks loose. But I love the smell of linseed oil. It's wonderful. So anyways, so I typically when I paint, I paint the shadows first, right? Usually with my highest, depending on the subject, my highest values, shadows most times have to be within the painting if you really want to get there. And I'll just see, there's a happy little accident right there. If you want to, I'm just going to touch that up. Maybe that should be nice. I forgot what I was saying. Okay, got a little light right there reflecting off the bottom of that. Maybe some more light. Some low lights. This kind of just curves down into here. And again, we have that cool. I don't want it that light. I want it up here to be pretty light where this light is mostly being seen. But what I was saying about, I typically paint my shadows first. I'm just going to kind of throw this up here because there's, we're up against the background. I need to paint this stem much bigger here too, and I'll do that when I do the background. See, that's one thing is you're taking images and you're just having some ideas about them. You still have to put in realistic things, even though this is kind of a fantasy rose painting. It's not really, it's still has to show, a tiny little stem here on this is not holding up looks like a 10-pound rose. So I do want to kind of thicken that up a bit. Same with this one right here. We got, these are okay because these are buds, it's smaller. But when I get to this big, they're hurty. And then over here, and I know you can't see up there's a red rose comes off to the side. Looks like it's just kind of floating there. I need to create some stem action happening down there. But I'm back. Anyway, so just what I'm doing is doing some, when you get a sense of depth, what light does is light hits a surface and then it shatters, right? What's absorbed into the surface create the color of the object. And then you've got the light that spreads out. And when it hits the edge of the plane of the rose, it goes into shadow. And so it's called a gradient, right? We have gradients everywhere. We don't really notice them, but they're there. So what I try to do is create gradients to give a sense of depth. All right, just fixing the top of the rose. Putting again, I normally don't do the lights first, but I'll be painting over this is a line as we get in more. We've got some deep shadow there, but we have some light here. We're going to have some light up here and here as the folds get down into of the rose. Some lights running up across the tops. So I'm just giving an idea of where I want my shadows to come down into and how tight I want the rose to look. Again, tonight, I think I always mix so much paint, but I'll probably throw the black, throw a little umber on there, and maybe paint it in some areas that I know the background I knew will be black. But what I'm saying is that I kind of get an idea of like where the deep parts of these petals are, right? Then, I you only need to go off of a okay, we got more up here, off more of sketch once you when you first start, you know. I use sketches on every single painting I do. I don't always do grids. I knew this would be a big painting, so I wanted a grid. And when it's all hand drawn though. There are no, I didn't cover this with, you know, I didn't trace. I did all this by hand. I do have an image of it, but I know this rose is not blue, and I know the structure of roses, so I don't really need to fill up the picture, since it's not really, I'm really using more of my imagination on this one. These are all pretty close. This was the ones I drew last week, all pretty close to the lines that were in there. This one almost looks like it's fallen apart, and I think I like that pushed back side. I may glaze over part of this later to maybe with some lights to show, again, depending on the cool and warmth of it. I want everything coming out of the crack here to feel warm and vibrant. This pink is really, really warm down here, but this is the first layer on here. Above this, there's going to be a bunch of little purple flowers with some greens and things. So I think this will still offset this area right here pretty well. So painting away. Again, I'm looking for a little bit of glow down here, but you know, it all could change next time I pick up a paintbrush. So one thing about painting, and the one thing that really bothered me as a kid was no one ever told me that, I mean, people did, you know, but for the most part, people never told me I was bad at this. But I was discouraged quite a bit, and not because they didn't want me to, because the thought of artist as a job is typically not a good thing. But art is very much a job for a lot of people. And the reason is, I wouldn't be taking this much time on detail until I paint the whole thing, but it's a small piece and I'm not going to bed soon, so. But, you know, encouragement is always something we look for. But, you know, you make the life that you've created. It's not predicated on when you were a child. It's predicated with what you do as you grow and what you do with the memories. You know, yes, I wish I would have got back into art earlier. But I didn't think I was any good at it. Quite honestly, I didn't go to school for it. Nothing like that. I'm just doing some dry brushing here to kind of blend it a little better. You typically want to have paint on your brush anytime you touch the canvas. That's the rules. I don't know who made them. Somebody artsier than I am, or someone who knows, but you never want to use, you're not supposed to use a dry brush, you know. Put paint on your, every time you should have paint on there. This is what I'm going to be working on for a while. Again, I need hours. I don't know how many I'm going to tape, but I was encouraged to tape one, and I thought, why not just plan on taping all of them and seeing how bored I can make people. It's like watching paint dry, right? But I'm funnier than watching paint dry. Not too much, but I'm definitely funnier. I hate when I contaminate what I didn't want to contaminate. Okay, okie dokie. Let me see how dark this is and what color it is even. That's another thing about roses. you know, you can look at the same rows over and over, you know, the variety, and they all look different, right? It's not like, you know, it's not like anything else. They're like people, you know, they're individualistic. So you may see a purple rose, or you may see it and it look blue to you, and you know, maybe it looks different to everybody. But the thing is everybody sees the rose because we draw it that way. Get a little bit darker, a little bit lighter here, and change the color just a bit as we get up to the edge. I love a good blended edge. To a sharp edge, to a blended edge. It's all good. I like to get a little crazy here when we're painting. Happy little flowers. Yeah, so roses are probably my favorite flower. You know, lilies, and I have lost this whole shape, haven't I? This is gonna come up here. Tulips. They're easy. It's the easy way out. Okay, I've decided to make another leaf kind of coming out this way. It's gonna be really bright up here. And with these sharp edges, but we got no gradient down there, so we're gonna have to build that out. Just saying, and I'll end up putting a highlight right there because I want to make it pop. Okay, just gonna leave that out. See, that's almost pure titanium white, but it's so blue under there. It's so blue that even a little bit of white, it takes over this color. But see back here, where it's back a little bit, we go from that big white edge. Now it gives it a little more depth, but I want to really get one of these purpley colors, these bluish purples, and put it down there, right? Like putting ice into it. Just freezes that colors. Okay. So it kind of gets it cold. And it's not as bright as down here, it's dark. So I'm stuck with the choice because this one is curved in a little more. I need to probably bring the darkness up to here. Like it needs to get much darker, or at least darker than this one, or I got to bring this and make it lighter, thereby making this lighter, and so on and so on. So I think I'm going to make a tiny bit of my black, which is really just a dark blue. Darkest blue you can get. I knew I should have put, and I'm really going to work the layers here the best I can. I'm trying not to get any of the blue in it, but I really at least want to get this down here and run out, right? I want to run it out. Basically get it right into the edge. So what I'm doing is, I know you can't see it so much on camera, but I really want to get that kind of scooping from the inside out. And to do that, you do a couple of ways. I only use a very similar palette. I use a cold version and a warm version and scale the blue, purple up and down, right? And kind of goes green and red, you know, with opposites. So that kind of gives me this kind of oomph. I just am up near the top of my value scale down in here. I'm probably out of 10, maybe a 7, 8, maybe a 7. So value scale right there. But we've got this flower and I kind of want to just blue it up. Not blow it up, blue it up. Just to see how much offset we get from up here. So this is going to be pretty light on top. I almost got to blend it all the way to the edge to give it like, because it's folding out, you know, whereas the other ones, you know, and I'm going to draw a little line because of where it should end, because I've got these walls, right? This is right on the edge. So rather than bending it out and pushing that in, I'm going to try to make this look like, because I'm going to add a dark section in here, like this is kind of bowed in and around this, and then this section is going down, so this will go down like this, and it'll probably be closer to color down here, because that's really what I've been doing. So almost that purpley black color. I really need it off. I'm keeping it very, very chromatic, because the whole painting is. But we'll start down low. But you see, almost black. I don't know if you can see, but it's definitely purple. But I want to run it right into and right below the lip, right? This is the lip above it, you know, so it should be a sharp, 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 sharp edge right there, and a sharp, sharp, sharp edge right here where it holds up that petal and nothing can push against it. So there we go, very sharp. Got a little puddle of paint. We don't like that. I have a bad habit of blending on them. I have a very bad habit. So you can see that kind of matches this with maybe just a little bit of a light area. But here's some form to come around here. So now we know this is down near the bottom. So, but we can't make it the same color. So, you know, your eye can only see so much. So we're gonna just kind of keep it similar in value. Just change up that shadow color just a bit. Maybe there's some more blue in this area, you know? A little more bluish purple, warm. You know, that's not warm, that's cold. But we get up here and we're warm. If you're watching me now and you know any of this, see, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look like anything, as long as you know what it is. Now, so that's very subtle, and I'll show you. But as this dries and ages, and that will maintain it'll maintain that purpley color. So, anyways, this could last a week, a month, 1,000 years. I don't know. Again, the hard part you kind of end up going, I have to add some detail to that one, but you kind of end up going just what you think a rose looks like. This is an AI rose anyways, so, you know, roses have really dark center as they kind of open. So, and as they open, you have that brilliant color that goes down and it peels away, right? So what you're really looking for is, like I did on this one, you know, that warmth and that center, you know, right there. But you also then want to kind of lighten it as it goes out. So you're going to have those light lips on the top, and then immediately you'll see the color of the roses. It falls into shadow. The only thing we're going to change up a bit is maybe, again, show some cooler edges. I don't know yet. I may have to go back. I had planned on glazing this, and then there are some surprise areas in here too. You see these white boxes, kind of help give it this sci-fi theme. Okay, so there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. Okay, I got that. We have this kind of bottom lip here coming around there. Okay, it's going to be going right up against here, and it's going to be closer to this purple than the blue, but we'll see if I can get that. I'm just trying to get an idea for where I want to put a dark spot. You know, because dark, that's all it is painting is light. All right, it's just finding where you're going to put light and darkness. Again, oh, I just love this blue color, and it's, you know, darkish range. And this is like, again, I think all these colors are pretty cool. Which is fine with me, because this opening's not going to be, won't be near this. So this should just give it some love then. We'll just kind of play through here. that was just a guide anyways. But I almost want you to have a haze next to this opening, right? We'll just blend some of this along the bottom to kind of give us that feeling that, you know, it's kind of a whirlwind, fantasistical area. So these kind of blues being warped and twisted, and, you know, let your mind fill in the spots, right? Because it might, you know, we're sitting here calling it a rose, but could it be taken over a rose? Maybe planted here, and this is this way of this creature for the enter our world. Who knows, right? So let's just assume the worst, because that's what we should do. Anyhow. So boom, all of a sudden we got the back end. And because of that, I'm gonna put a white up here, but also maybe, you know, as a lip. I love my roses to have these lips around the edge to give it this surreal kind of look. Yes, I do it on purpose. And I just want to kind of reintegrate some of this in here. And then up as it hits this is the top. And again, I just, everything needs a line up there, right? All of these roses come from a grandfather rose, you know? So they all have the same characteristics and technique characteristics. And, you know, they got some light spots at the top, right? And then right here, they, you know, because it's just popping out a bit, there's a light spot there, but then I've got to fill the top of this rose with more light paint. And again, we want hard edges normally, but because we're talking about an alien possible invasion, when you see my aliens, they're scary. Okay, they're not that scary, but they're scary. It should really be a hard edge, so maybe I'll take it when I do my I'm not going to glaze it. I know I'm never going to get to glaze it. I'm too lazy. But what I'll do is I'll just add some highlights right here. Give that a little bit more form. Right? So I'm going on with that leaf. Top of it's just all fucked up. But that's okay. We don't mind, because we're just going to blend down. Blend down. We all blend. Again, we've got this whirlwind. We got this tearing time-space continuum, dude. Man, it was some little fingers right here, just pulling it open. I wonder. Let's say that I were there, because that's really what I was going to put here. Maybe I can just kind of get the idea. Some strange little creature grabbing the inside of that. Right? A couple fingers that come like this. And then it just disappear down into the paint. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen. Have a little bit of knuckle right there. That black paint there, I'm diluting it a bit. But I'm feeling a little sparky right now with my, probably like that. Maybe just 3 fingers. These guys don't need more than that. You're just popping right around here. See, all the shadows are down underneath. And it's monsters. I would say they're monsters. Maybe they're just curious about the world. So their spaceship looks like a painting. Albeit not necessarily a great painting, but still painting. Right? Yes. Oh, that's cool. Like that. Just a little space there. And let's grab some of this. Okay. And we're going to put a little bit right there. Ugh. Still here painting. I get lost in myself. I forgot you guys were on. So I did this little hand, and I'll show it to you in a minute. Sorry for the silence. It's kind of creeping me out, I guess, a little too. But I put this hand in here, and I'll give it some more form as I work into that part. I wanted to have, I'm okay with it just being a basic clump of who knows what. I just need the value dropped so that when I paint the next layer, it will be on top there, right? So we just need some we don't need this to get super dark. It's tearing into this little thing right here, into the painting, reaching down. A little lump there. I think the hand needs to come out just a little more on that top side. Again, I'm not putting any details. I will put a light edge right here. So since his fingers are going into or her fingers, I think we could say that, whichever, it's going into the lip here, right? Should be a pretty hard edge, even if it's gnarly edge. It should be a pretty, every angle should be sharp as a tack. So that's what we're doing. Because it's clawed into there, right? Into the flower. It's starting to claw a little bit. I think I might put some little highlights of some claw marks. Denise is a little guy, but you know what? He's a little terror probably. There's one there, and there's one there. Bad habit. And that would be, guess what? Putting in details when you still have so much to do. But anyways, monster guy will probably go right here, right? Kind of what I want to do is kind of pull this up a little bit, only because this would be the thumb area, right? If we're going to do that, I'm going to do it like that, and then this phthalo blue is super powerful, but I want to put it in here, give us a little depth, right? Just blend it out up into here. This thing is corruption. Then I just want to touch. I could wait till it dried, but no, I'm just going to touch a black, and we're going to blend that on down in there. And I promise this will be, for now, the last detail I put in. In fact, it'll probably look a little better when it dries, and I can do a bit more to it. So I'm only going to go about an hour. Hopefully I won't, space out again. But you never know. I just get into the doing it, and to be certain, you know when you kind of lose your way, right? So this is a lip. I want it to look like a lip. So his top is over. So what happens when you put a top over something? You get gradients, right? Because what ends up happening is the light that does seep in there seeps in from the top up here. And you might get a ton of it depending on like this hand pulling away that flower. Or it might be a ton of darkness. You don't really know until you figure out where the light source is. Well, I think the light source is telling us that this curb here should be closer, maybe just a hair lighter, but this part should be in shadow because he's pulled it back, right? So we'll do that. We still have the lip here, and we want to, again, that's being pulled down in there, right? Those should be our darkest areas as we paint through this. See, this is all dark in here too, but we'll just kind of lay down some soft edges right here for now. As we add highlights to this, we will end up with add highlights that we will end up with some depth here, I promise. Yeah. And if not, you know, no big deal. I just want to get me something people talk about. Damn, I got a lot of load on that brush. And then, oh, right at the top end of that. Where was I? Oh goodness, that should never be on, but I'm not editing it, so I don't care. Okay. So it's kind of all crushed up, this flower, right? As he comes in through that portal there. We are going to, as it's all being all pulled into shadow, I'll just kind of show that, but you know, but at the same time, it's kind of a warm shadow, right? So let's go, I mean, when I say warm, you know, I'm talking it's relative to this entire thing, you know, so, you know, we kind of lose some of the shape in there because the creature's reaching out. But while we still have a beautiful piece of blurry destruction, as we come down in here, and this will get washed out a bit from the light colors, which is fine and kind of what I want anyways. You know, I just want this, you know, mid-scale, you know, kind of, hey, what's going on here? Okay, blend up into there. It's a nice sharp edge as that it's being pulled down. We're gonna probably fill most of that in with, fill most of that in here with darker colors. Maybe, again, my hope is to glaze the darn thing and eventually this petal here, eventually glaze the whole thing, and then you can, after it's dry, it's a lot easier to, it's a lot easier to glaze in darker colors. You know, you won't blend at all. These really should be sharp edges, but considering I want them back a little ways, I'll just soften them up a bit. Because we want that back in the back of the painting. As we come closer, we'll sharpen those edges. You know, depth. You know, when you have soft edges, it gives a sense of depth. And a sense of that's in the background. Maybe even disintegrating. Who knows? I kind of like that idea. I guess when we get to repainting the background, this is gonna look really cool, right? Oh, wow. And I'll just play these edges all soft like it's disintegrating. Because they're touching it. Right, it's just blowing up and away. away, away, away. Just like my brain power goes away, and further away. Using very little paint too. Oil paint is, and part of it is that right here, you know, if I don't like go crazy with the paint here, getting softening out, I just want this to wisp away. I might not even repaint that. I might make that all, make this into a darker blue here. Look how it wisps there. But what's happening here is this big leaf, right? Was blasted away. But it's nice and cool there, disintegrating up at the top, but down in here, it's still, you know, closer to, but it's still lighter, you know what? It's still close to the zone. I'll put a little of this color out there to show that it's just kind of coming apart, right? So we're, all this, we want darker, because we're in the middle. We're in the inner side. We are going to use some of our darkest darks here because we are in, but you know what? They're still cool, right? They're still cold. Yeah, these leaves are all being torn apart, right? We want all this beautiful bluish color to be everywhere that the purple isn't, even with the purple, right? Purple's our deep shadows. That's our deep shadow. But because we're losing the integrity of the rose, right? I'm just scuffling. That's what you call it. It's where you kind of make, you know, jagged lines and you blend your lines together. So out here, you may have more crisp lines, right? A nice blending. Here, the warmth of the background, because I painted, the paint's so thin, it's coming through, and so you've got this flower just kind of disintegrating, this beautiful purple rose, as this creature, that's this warm creature in the back of nowhere, it's just back there. And this is why I love oil paint too. You can't do this with acrylic. I mean, but with acrylic, I can wash my brushes and be done, right? With oils, it's a little more maintenance, but you still get some really, you can't go the chroma that you can with acrylic or even watercolor to a degree, but watercolor can get muddied really quick, and I've got my crazy moments. So let me put this down. I've pretty much finished this, and I don't know, I'm gonna come around, sorry, this is not being edited, but I don't know how to turn the damn thing around. See, I'm just gonna hold my hand. So you can look back here and you can kind of see the makings of that little head coming out and the disintegrating of the rose. But let me come up close. Okay, there, look at that bad boy. Hopefully it looks pretty fuzzy, like a fuzzy rose. So anyways, sorry I didn't pay much attention. I get lost in that moment, right? I get lost in that area. And now I don't want to paint the background, maybe a different color blue. Maybe I just leave that area in this dark, but I really want these back colors to pop. Oil that out and repaint over it. It's dry as, been doing this for 2 years. So anyways, thank you for joining me. It's almost 1 hour of painting. It flies by when I get in the zone. Nice thing about oil paints, this whole thing I did with a 4-inch filbert. You know, you've got the flat edges. You can make sharp lines. You can make different thicknesses of ovals. You can get some scuffling with it. It's a good all-around brush. I really prefer, I thought that was a much darker, lighter color. Oh goodness, that's okay. happy mistakes, as Bob Ross would say. Yeah, a little more form in here. Like, get some little highlights. Okay, maybe some reflected light coming off this petal. Right? Doesn't have to be perfect. And also, again, this thing's sort of disintegrating right before our eyes. It's going to look really cool against the drop of that stem right there. Right now it does, but even as I thicken it out with that greenish color and that warm green color, got all this warmth up here, got some warmth, some coolness over here. These roses are as warm as they can get. The whole bottom of this thing is rose, this rose, that rose, that rose. So we get some vibrancy and high chroma. Need to work on my whatchamacallits a bit, my values, but it's coming together. So thank you for watching. Bye.